Good morning and welcome to part 2 on how to make a smartphone cardboard passive speaker. So this is the speaker once again, and in part 1 we made the bottom section, which looks like this. We cut out some pieces of cardboard. They were 3.5 inches by 5 inches. We stacked a few of them up together so that they were about a 1/2 inch thick, and then we just hot glued them together. Okay, so we're going to do something similar. Now, we're going to make the top section. The only difference between the top section and the bottom section is we are going to have to make this little cutout so that our phone fits in here. And everybody's cutout is going to be a little bit different depending on what kind of phone they have. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to first go and take our cardboard. We're going to cut a few pieces this size, same size as in part 1 when we made the bottom. They are 3.5 inches by 5 inches. If you haven't seen part 1, go back and watch that, and that will show you how to cut out these small pieces 3.5 inches by 5. I'm not going to redo it again because I want to keep this video nice and short. So you're going to cut a few pieces 3.5 inches by 5 inches, and you're going to cut enough of them. I pre-cut a few here already. Cut enough of them so that when you stack them together, and you put them one on top of each other, right, the width from here to here is about a 1/2 inch. Okay, so it should look the same as the bottom piece that we made. Okay, should be the same thickness. The top piece that we're going to make now and the bottom piece should be the same thickness, as you can see here. Okay, but before we hot glue these together, we need to cut this shape, this little rectangular shape where our phone is going to fit. So here's how we're going to do that. Let's take one of these, let's lay it down, and along the long edge here, where it's 5 inches across, I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to measure 1 inch in like this. Then I'm going to move it up and then measure it again 1 inch, and I'm going to draw a line right here. Okay, everybody should be able to see that line. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my phone, right, and I'm going to stand it up and I'm going to put it on the side of the cardboard here where there's more cardboard, not on the smaller side, on the bigger side, so that the back of the phone, right, is right up against that line, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to trace it. So I'm going to try and get it right, left to right, about in the middle. And I'm going to trace the outside of my phone here. Just like that. So you can see when I hold that up, I traced my phone, and now that's the shape that I need to cut out. Okay, so I'm going to take my scissors. Now cutting this out can be a little bit tricky. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of separate my scissors. I'm going to kind of poke a hole right in one of these corners here like this, so that it goes through like that. See that? Watch your fingers, and then you can just kind of start cutting along the line. Don't worry if the middle of it gets a little messed up, because we're removing that anyway. Just give it a little snip. Okay, nice and careful. Okay, a little careful. Good. Going to do the same thing on the other side now. I'm going to just take it down to the table here. I'm going to poke a small hole in the bottom. Watch your fingers very, very carefully, but nice and slow. Okay, so it should kind of be sticking through, kind of like that. All right, and then I'm just going to rotate it. I'm just going to start cutting. Just cut the top, nice and slow. Watch your fingers. That looks pretty good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of push it up like that in the middle. See how I did that? And I'm going to cut it in the middle like that. And now I can take each one of these pieces up and I can cut those each out. Just come on over in here and just kind of snip them out from the side like that. Come over to this one. Just kind of snip it out using your scissors. You have to go back and trim it up a little bit, which it looks like I do need to do on mine, and trim a little bit more off. You want to get it so that your phone fits in there nicely. Okay, so that looks pretty good. This phone's fitting in there nice and smooth. Okay, everybody see that? Okay, you don't want it to be too snug. You want the phone to freely fit through there. Okay, if it's too snug, go back and trim it a touch. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so now I've got that one done. So now I'm going to use that as a template. I take my second piece. I'm going to lay this one on top of it. All right, I'm going to trace it. So now I have the same shape right on there. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut it out. So we'll use that same technique where I kind of poke a hole in it. Okay. Trim it up. Nice and careful. Cut the other side. Watch your fingers when you're poking that hole. Go nice and slow. That looks pretty good. Okay. I'm going to snip it in the middle again, right, to separate the two sides. Then you can bring those up. And you can, sometimes they'll just tear right out. Sometimes you have to flip it over, trim them a little bit. Just go nice and slow. You can always take and remove a little bit more cardboard if you take too much at once. Sometimes you can't add it back, right? So if we need to trim a little more, just trim a little more, and that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. That looks good. We check our fit, and that's perfect. Slides right through. All right, nice and easily. You can see that sliding through. All right, not too tight. So then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the one, stack it on top of the other one, just like that. And I'm going to glue them together with a little hot glue. So I take my hot glue. You don't have to go crazy with the hot glue. Right around the outside, a little bit there. Lay them one on top of the other. Press down. Give it, I don't know, 10 seconds or so to dry. And now we have our top section of our phone speaker complete.